We have pickers that are in the creeks, in the small little creeks. There's certain areas that you know where to look for. All of these oysters that you see along the bank are clustered oysters, which are more of a blade. The ideal oyster has a good cup to it, like this, instead of being really thin and skinny. Knowing where to find these is the first step. There are certain creeks that hold water, whether it's a foot or 3 feet. Even at low tide, that water gets locked in there, so these oysters stay underwater for 24 hours a day instead of being exposed intertidally as the ones you see along the bank. When an oyster is on the bank, it is constantly growing longer trying to reach the water. When they stay in the water throughout their entire life, they're not so worried about growing long, and they start to develop a deeper cup. When you open this oyster, you have this much meat in it as opposed to that much meat in it. So knowing where to go, anyone can come out and grab the oysters and bring them in, but knowing which of these creeks hold the water in them to produce these best oysters is what we look for when it comes to harvest time. As he's going through all of these, all of this empty shell and debris that was left over from the harvest process, nothing goes to waste out here. All of these oysters we will take and replant on beds, the barren spots on the bank. We dump the shell out and spread it. And next oyster season, as the oysters release their spat into the water, they spend the first couple weeks of their lives swimming through, and they are looking for something to attach to. Regular mud, pluff mud, which we have an abundance of, is not conducive for the oyster to settle on and grow. So what they need is a shell to attach themselves to. This oyster right here is a prime example. This piece of shell was sitting on the bottom, and as this oyster came along, it settled on it. The oyster has one shot to cement himself down to a piece of shell, which gives him something to grow on. So this piece of shell was laying there, and this oyster found it, sat down on it, and then grew and turned into this oyster. This one is probably a little on the small side for what we're doing. So what we'll do is we'll take these smaller ones and then we'll move them into these deep water spots and let them sit within, say, probably 4 to 5 months. These oysters will be up to a size that we can harvest. What we're looking for is a 2.5 inch to basically 4 inch oyster. Some restaurants prefer smaller ones for cocktail oysters, while other ones that are doing, say, an oyster Rockefeller need something that has some consistency to the shell in order to prepare foods such as spinach, cheese, and all of that on it.